Alrighty guys, today we're going to talk about using Tkinter to build user interfaces, graphical user interfaces. Everything we've done has had some kind of interface, right? It's just typing in text or something like that. But instead, we'd like to create nice little windows with fill-in fields and buttons and stuff like that. Now, unfortunately, the PowerPoint I have over using Tkinter is incredibly lame and lousy, and it's so bad that I'm not going to even give it to you. I need to find a better one. But I figure we can go ahead and just plow through it before I find a better one. The idea behind it is that you can create a window, and that window is a frame, and you can add buttons and text and input fields and stuff like that. And after you add all those to it, you call a method called pack, and it places them all into the frame in a visible way so that they can then be used. There are a lot of different controls you can have. You can have buttons, you can have check buttons, you can have a combo box. A combo box is something where you can type in something, but it also pulls down a pull-down menu, something like that. You know, a menu, a list box, you've heard of all these terms. And so you can do some really cool things with it, and we're only going to kind of scratch the surface. I hope to get us, to do some buttons, maybe some input text, maybe some check boxes. So let's go and take a look at what we can do with it. So I'm going to make a new file. I'm just going to call it GUI1 or something to that effect. And so all the classes we need are in the Tkinter, I-N-T-E-R, not E-N-T-E-R, library. And so if we try this, you would think we could get them all. From Tkinter, import, star. Is that going to give us everything? Well, we'll find out. I never trust this. I've gotten into problems running into this in the past. We may wind up importing everything individually. Okay, that actually seemed to work. But if we find something that it does not import, then what we'll wind up doing is from Tkinter import button. Right? Like I typed that correctly. You get the idea. Alrighty, I switched into Swedish there for a minute, but we're back on track. Okay. So let's just test this stuff one at a time. If I type this, top is equal to TK, uppercase T, lowercase k, we know that there's a class then called TK, and that is running the init method for it. And when it does, it creates a little window. Nifty slick. So then we're going to create a frame. The frame fits in that window so that we can drop things into the frame. So how about F1 for frame? We could actually probably use anything for it. But F1 is equal to frame. Again, it's a class. Most programmers use the convention that classes have uppercase letters. And when we call the constructor, when we call the init method, we're going to pass in our top window as the parameter to attach our frame to. Alright, so we still seem to be getting our double objects there. Oh, that's because I've repeated that twice. Okay, great. I was kind of puzzling over that. Alright, so I want a variable that I could hold somebody's name in or something like that. Now, we have strings already, but the Tkinter library comes with some strings that are designed to be used with the interface. It's a different string class. So let's just do name is equal to string var. Create a new string variable. And we want to make a text box that allows somebody to type in, and that text box will fill in the name variable after they type it in. So text is equal to Entry. Entry is an entry form. F1 is this frame. We could have multiple frames on a window. And our text variable, got to spell out the whole thing and not get any mistakes. No uppercase, no lower. Text variable is equal to name. So if you see what we did, our frame attaches to the top window, and then this text field attaches to that frame. But we have to tell it to actually plop it on the screen, so we're going to call pack. Text.pack, parentheses, in parentheses, like that. And let's run it and see what it does. Not a darn thing yet. I hope it looks better as we go along.
Mine. When I run it in Python, just nothing happens.
Okay. I haven't packed the form yet. I guess I'll put that in there as well. F1.pack, parentheses in parentheses. And then at the very last line of code is going to be top.main loop, which is supposed to set it, into a loop running, waiting for clicks. And there we have a little text entry box. So it actually worked. What was the part that fixed it? I believe it would be the call to F1 pack. Yeah. So you pretty much need to call pack on every control you place into the frame and then onto the frame. And what it's doing right now is it's doing kind of a maximal space efficient mode, right? Where, our window only has room for that one text variable. Just totally playing around, let's add another text variable. So let's create another string var and another text field for it. I don't know. Name. What else do we care about? People. We like their age. Now we should not make this a string var. It ought to be a numeric variable. But just for now. Age is equal to string var. Now text was a really stupid name for a variable, right? That is incredibly generic. We should have called it, like name field or something like that, name text. Be that as it may, I'm not going to correct it, but age text is equal to capital E entry. We're attaching it to our frame, but it's with a different text variable. Text variable equals age. And let's pack that one. Age text dot pack. Something I usually do is I cut all the packs and I push them all the way down to the bottom rather than mix them in like this, but I'm going to leave it like that. So now when it runs, are we going to have our text fields side by side or top to bottom? We have them top to bottom. So that's pretty cool. So we could type in something there, we could type in something there. Now that's all it's going to do. No, we're going to put some buttons on here. But I'd like to not go too fast. I want to give people who are typing a chance to catch up. So what is a button? What's cool about a button, the way the button works, is you define a method. And then when you create the button, you give it a link to that method. And then the code itself calls your method, your function, when the button is clicked. And one term for it is a callback function. You pass it a function, and then it calls your function whenever it is triggered. And that's actually an incredibly common way of doing user interface code, whether you're going to do it in C or Java or whatever. You define your libraries, you define your methods, your functions, and then you tie them together with the button so that when the button is clicked, it, meaning the library, calls your function. Okay, so for now, we're going to do some kind of dump. We're just going to define a silly little function called say hi. So def say hi. Actually, I should put this above f1.pack. I want f1.pack and the main loop to be the very top bottom things in the program. So def say hi. It's not going to take any parameters. Let's just do the easy one. Print hello, end quote, comma, and then their name. We need to get their age out. Name dot get. Right? Because it's not a string. It's a class called string var. They're going to fill in the name, but then when we want to retrieve it, we're going to have to call name.get. Now guess what you would use if you wanted to set, well, I just gave it away. If you want to stick some text into that variable before it's displayed, you would call .set. Alright, that's enough. We're going to make it better in a minute. But I want to slow it down, make sure that it actually runs. Let's play with that set command. As soon as we create our name, let's call name.set and put in somebody's name. So I just added that line. Yeah, and so it filled in some text. And when we call .get, it will return Bob or whatever you've changed the text to. We've got our method that our button's going to call, but we don't have a button. So we're going to make a button. So button 1, B1, and this is all unintended, is equal to button with a capital B, button, parentheses, top, because that's the name of our window. Suddenly it occurs to me why not pass the name of the frame in there, but I'm not going to ponder that too often. Comma, text equals, T-E-X-T equals, and whatever text we want the button to have inscribed on it. So how about hello? Text equals quote hello, end quote, comma, and now we have to tie it together to our method. So command I keep calling it a method. It's not part of a class, but it very well could be, in which case it would be a method. It's a function. Say hi. Now you don't put your parentheses here. Don't put the parentheses there like you would think you would. We're just passing it the address of the function. We're not calling the function. That's why we don't put any parens there. If we put parens there, then as soon as we did this button creation, it would invoke the function. That's not what we want. We're just passing in to the button class init method the address of the say hi function. All right, let's pack it. b1.pack. Alrighty, so when I ran it, we see this. It says hello. If I click hello, it may print something to the shell, because that's all I had to say hi function do, is print to the shell. So I clicked it, I scroll up, and it did in fact print hello Bob. And if I keep clicking hello, it's going to say that over and over and over. Let's make another button that says goodbye. And let's make another method that's called goodbye. Let's do that first. df space goodbye, parentheses in parentheses. And then just do the same thing that we did with the hello. Let's do name.get. Tell you what, we're going to mess with this a little bit. We're not going to use the print. We're going to use a little message box. Message box is a colloquial name, or the non-colloquial name for when you press something and it pops up a little message. Hello, and it's got an OK button on it. It's a simple little window with an OK button on it. So message box. Now we haven't even created a message box. We're just using a function, a method of the TK class. Message box dot show info. Goodbye. Like that. That's kind of lame. It's not even using their name, but good enough. Good enough. We could get their name. Let's see if that's enough to actually get it to run though. We need to add a button that's going to call that method. So I'm going to create a B2 is equal to button and all that stuff. It's going to be very similar to that, but instead of saying top, it's going to say, you know, it's also going to say top. I could just copy this text and paste it. I'm going to grab those 2 lines of code, copy, and paste them and change them to B2 rather than B1.
You also want to say goodbye.
And we need the command to be goodbye. I also need the, yeah, I don't want it to say hello anymore. So there's several changes I'm going to make, but so button 2 is equal to button, top, text equals goodbye, command equals goodbye, all lowercase, because that's the name of our function. And then on the next line, b2.pack. Okay, it's saying message box not defined.
Oh, yeah.
It's just one of those rare cases where it's because I didn't import it deliberately. Let me find out. You don't have to type this until I... It's idiotic if I have to do that, but... Yep. Okay there. I've never been able to understand why that's necessary. Okay, so to get the message box to work, go ahead and add this extra import up at the top. Even if you're not done diving it anywhere else. Since the top's usually hidden, I want everybody to scroll up there and make sure that line of code's up there at the top. And frankly, it boggles my mind that input star doesn't bring message box in and that we have to import it separately. But that's been my experience in the past as well. Okay, so with that there, I have my 2 button methods. One calling the say hi function, and one calling the goodbye function. Now just printing a message to console out to, you know, the output is kind of lame. So I'm going to want to change the hello button to say something a little bit cooler. And look at that, we can resize it and stuff. We can hide the whole thing. There, I like that. Anyway, so hello, and then goodbye actually pops up a window that says goodbye. Kind of vague, it doesn't have anything there. So let's make a few changes to make that look a little bit better. Firstly, let's also use message box here for our hello message. So let's just make a string that displays a message that we want. Let's get the name out first. Well, let's say message is equal to, hey, what's up, comma, %s, end quote, %, name.get. And that's a kind of a perverse way of doing it. And then we're going to call our message box function. Message box, parentheses, hello, end quote, comma, message. So that's how I modified my say hi method function. And I hope it works. No.
You just need a show input.
Yeah, did I just type message box? Yep, you're right. This needs to be message box dot show info. It could also be show error if you wanted it to have a red error or show warning, but show info is pretty cool. That's the icon that it displays there. All right, so hey, what's up, Bob? If we type in something else other than Bob, Joe, and we click hello, it says, hey, what's up, Joe? All right, does everybody recognize what I did there with that %? That's just like when we're printing and we were demonstrating using the % in order to format our data when we were printing, except we just used it to build our string. Works the same way. If you wanted to, you could use .format instead. Don't type this, but you know, I could use message is equal to whatever my message was, you know, and then .format, and then pass, you know, the name in that way as well. I really should switch over fully, commit fully to doing it that way, but Old habits die hard. Now, we never did anything with their age, but I guess that's okay. We were just demonstrating. What would be nice is if we actually said what those fields were, right? If we had a little description on one side and then an input field on the other, and we could do that. But we're going to go to the next example rather than continue to mess with this. All right. So scrolling up to the top, here's what we had at the top. Just two more lines. TK enter import star. TK enter import message box. Top equals TK. F1 is equal to frame. Got that? Then let's scroll down here, and that's the rest of our code. Pause it if you need. Okay, so we just added one more line of code to the goodbye method. We actually wanted the application to terminate when they clicked goodbye. So we added this. Our top window, our topmost instantiation of the TK library is called top, so we called top.destroy. And we stuck that in our goodbye method. I'm glad you asked that. So something to note about what we just created. In old school user interface programming, this is what's known as a modal dialogue, M-O-D-A-L. That means that you can't do anything else with your application until you close that, right? I can't come over here and click goodbye until this alert is dismissed. Generally, modal dialogues are kind of lame, but there are times when you want them. Like if you're doing a file save or whatever, and you've popped open a save as dialogue, you probably don't want to let the user keep going over and editing the window before they've ever saved it. So, all right. We have done one GUI example. Let's get one going with the checkboxes. No, I don't want to do the checkboxes yet. But I do want to make a new file. Let's call this one GUI2. So new file, save as GUI2. Again, from TK INTER import star. And heck, we've already learned our Grim lesson, so I'm going to import message box just in case we need it. From TK enter import message box. All right, this time we're going to do it with a little bit of object-oriented programming. We're going to create an app class. And we're going to use the init method to actually generate the window. I'm not seeing that this does what I think it's going to do. Let's run with it. All right. Hope we can make it work. Okay, so class app, I used a capital A. Class names traditionally start with an uppercase letter. Let's define our constructor, our init method. So def underscore underscore, that's two of them. Init, then two more underscores. And then our self keyword that we use on every method for the class, followed by something called master, followed by b name for our button name, colon. So we're going to create a frame based on the master that is passed in. The master is in other words going to be the top, the window. So frame is equal to capital F frame master And then frame.pack. Apparently we're going to do that at the beginning rather than wait until the end. And now we're going to create some buttons. Looks like just one button. So self.button. Remember, every time we precede a variable name with the word self, it makes it part of the class. So we've just introduced a member variable named button. And it's equal to button with a capital B, button, parentheses. We have to specify the frame. So frame, comma. Text is equal to, beginning quote, quit, end quote, comma. Foreground FG is equal to red, end quote. BG is equal to black. And then the name of the function that we're going to call. And oh boy, did I not get the entire text here from my last example. So when we call our function, can we just invoke it like this? Self dot write slogan. How about just self dot write?
That's supposed to be a comma there.
That was supposed to be a comma there. All right, now we're going to make a, you know what? We are slightly going off the fields here. I'm just going to return that here. And then I'm going to add another method called write. So def write in parentheses self in parentheses quote, and for now all it's going to do is print a message. Print Tkinter is easy to use. Optimistic. And return. That should be the end of our class. So now I'm going to create a window, just like we did last time. Top is equal to tk, parentheses in parentheses. Now let's create our app based on our app class. So app is equal to capital APP, parentheses. And we're going to pass in our top, followed by a button name. We never use that bname variable. Probably should have filled it in right there, rather than quit. Well, I'm going to run with it anyways. Yeah, we really should make this filled in with this. So, where I said text is equal to quit, I'm going to make a change there and call it bname. Text is equal to bname. I just modified that line of code. All right, now let's make another window. Top 2 is equal to tk, lowercase k, parentheses and parentheses. App 2 is equal to app, parentheses. Top 2, comma, goodbye. Have I made a mistake?
Probably not. I just don't think so.
Very likely that I have. Yeah, from tk enter message box, no thanks. From tk enter import message box. Didn't even use it in that line, crashed us. Positional argument follows keyword. Okay. That's true, it does. That's because it wasn't just supposed to be called self-write. It was supposed to be called command equals. So I have to change this thing here where it says self.write. I have to make it command equals self.write. I hope I haven't botched this too much. Yep, and there's our little windows. They don't do anything. I didn't pack them correctly and stuff like that. But each application is its own little window. Well, let's go see if we can figure out what I did wrong. For one thing, I don't think I issued a pack on the buttons. Right, I made a button, but I didn't pack it. So where it says self.button is equal to all that, how about self.button.pack? Put the C's in. I just had to add that line. And so I created two of them with two different pieces of text. I'm having a heck of a time actually moving these guys around because they're small. But one says goodbye, one says hello, and if I press on the hello button, that one says Tkinter is easy to use. If I press on goodbye, it also says Tkinter is easy to use. They both print out the same message. So maybe you get the idea. You define your graphical user interface in a class, and then you just create an instance of the class. Why would you do that? Well, you may want to pop up several of the same windows up on the screen at the same time. And even if not, it's a good little discipline to follow. It makes looking at the user interface code, hopefully, a little bit easier. We could go and modify our other code to follow this paradigm, but I don't think that's necessary.
I run mine, the windows don't pop up and the code just finishes.
Yeah, mine pulls up in tab.
Well, I didn't put any loops down here, main loops, in order to wait, but it's working for me enough for y'all, so let me go see, compare. So if this is working for you, great. You're probably using idle. If you're not, if you're using another development environment or it's not working for you, we never did have a call to main loop in it. So after we create all of our windows, we're going to call main loop. And it doesn't really matter which one we call it. So down here at the bottom, top2.main loop,
Oh, you didn't.
like that.
Here, it should say self, right under the self.button one. It should say self.button.pack. Yeah.
Okay, so what would be a neat extension to this? I don't know. Just having a button on there with no text is kind of lame. Having it print to the console with the print message is kind of lame. Maybe if we had a text field that we filled in when they clicked, you know, the button, would be more cool. So to do that, we would have to create another string variable just like we did last time. So this is going to be another part of our init method before our return statement. Let's just call it message. Or MSG var is equal to string var. String with a capital S, var with a capital V. Let's set our text. Message var is equal to, I don't know what to set it to right now, message.text. I'm being really unoriginal, so I'm putting default there for now. And I need to make a text entry field that uses that message var variable. So, and I didn't do self.messageVar, which means that it's not part of the object really, it's just a local variable. And I think I better not do that. So I'm changing that to self.messageVar and self.messageVar, and I'm going to make another variable, self.text equals entry, parentheses, and I need the name of my frame. Now I never stored the frame as a with a self dot, so I guess I'm just going to call it frame. End quote, comma, and then I need to assign that text variable. Text variable equals, in this case, self.messageVar. Here I said that making it a class makes it easier to follow. I'm not convinced that that's strictly true.
It's better to have more practice with classes anyway.
Yeah. And then self.text.pack. So those are the 4 lines that we added. What I'm hoping is that when we click on the button, we can fill in that message with a different bit of text. Yeah, right now it says default. And then after we click hello, maybe it'll fill in with a different message there. That'll make me feel good. So down here in the write method, I'm just going to delete that line. I'm not going to say Tkinter is easy to use. Instead, I'm going to reset the text of the message var. So self.messagevar.set. I have changed. Now that really ought to be enough. Which, if you think about it, is kind of strange, right? Because when I click that and it says I have changed, how in the world did this little bit of text fill in that field? And it's because the library is taking care of that for us. We created that text, but then we tied it together with the text entry field right there. We said, here's our text entry field, and oh, by the way, I want you tied to that variable. And every time that variable changes, the text entry field updates itself, which is pretty cool. It's not like we had to call self.text parentheses redraw or something. And that's a little bit different than some other GUI libraries that I've used. Okay, default is really bugging me. I'm going to just zero that out. I don't like the word default there. But it runs and I press hello and it prints out I have changed. Now the goodbye one isn't doing that. That interests me. That interests me a lot. What if I press the goodbye one first? Come on. Well, what do you know? Why is that one work and the other one not? Probably because I'm not keeping frame as a self variable.
Yeah, makes sense.
Alright, that's going to be my attempted fix. Self.frame, self.frame.pack, and then down here when we pass our button, button parentheses frame is becoming button parentheses self.frame, entry self.frame. Nope, that didn't do it. Alright, I'm slightly stymied. It was working before, right? The goodbye was at least printing something if we had a print statement down here, I hope. I'm not going to spend any more time trying to diagnose it, but I am slightly puzzled. I don't see what the problem is. Yeah, it's working, but only this one gets its text changed. But we know the method is being called for both of them. Do I have another variable I've created without self-dot? Self-dot, 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 no. Not getting it. Alright, I don't want to stare at that too long because I think we have the gist of the idea, even though I've broken it. If we only had one copy of the window going, it would have worked perfectly and I never would have noticed that it wasn't working. But that bugs me. I'm going to have to figure out what was wrong. Alright, I want to make one more of these little interfaces if we have time. Yeah, let's try the checkboxes. So we're going to make one more GUI, make it GUI 3. I did resume the recorder, did I not? Yep, all right. So instead of a text box, we're going to use a Boolean variable so that we can support checkboxes, right? Because a checkbox, if properly implemented, only has two states, right? Clicked and unclicked. And so that is a perfect use of a Boolean variable. But just like we had that text VAR class, we're going to use Boolean VAR. So again, from Tkinter, import everything. I'm not going to even add the message box unless we think we need it. And now I'm going to make a variable called yes, which is equal to capital B Boolean, capital V var. And I'm going to set it equal to true. It has to have some value, either true or false. So yes.set, parentheses, true. And it occurs to me to wonder if I could just pass in true right there when I created the variable. Yeah. All right. I'm going to create another one called no. So no is equal to Boolean var. And I never created the top TK parentheses in parentheses, and so I'm sure that's why I got the error that I did. And no.set parentheses false, capital F. I did forget to create my top window, so I'm going to do that now. Top is equal to T lowercase k parentheses in parentheses. All right, good. The window pops up. You're not going to see anything. Go ahead and add that main loop. We may as well do that down at the bottom. Top.main loop, just so that we can see our stuff working. Okay. A lot of the examples I see call this master rather than top, the master window. Some of them call it root. All right. So I have to create a frame. Frame is equal to capital F frame, parentheses top. May as well pack it, frame.pack. Now there are other ways of spacing these things out. Right now the way that we're doing it maximally condenses them right into as small a window as possible. And is that really what you want? Not always. And so there are other placing schemes, and you can put things, you know, on one side or the other, or place them in a grid. There's lots of sorts of things you can do with it. Okay, so let's do a question. Question is equal to label with a capital L, top, comma, text is equal to, T-E-X-T, all lowercase, is equal to, quote, what do you think, question mark, end quote, in parentheses. And let's pack our question. Question.pack. And now we're going to create some checkboxes that use those Boolean variables. Going to be the check button class. Previously we were just using the button class. So yes check is equal to check button with a capital C, check button, parentheses, top, comma, text equals, quote, yes, end quote, comma, the variable that it's tied to is equal to our yes variable, yes. Should have called it yes var rather than just yes. And that should have been an equal sign there. And repeat all that except change all the yeses to nos. Right? No check is equal to, and I could have cut and pasted, check button, parentheses, top, comma, text equals, quote, no, end quote, comma, variable is equal to no. And now we need to pack them, but we're going to pack them so that they appear side by side. So far everything has been top to bottom. So yes check dot pack parentheses side equals, and then in all uppercase, left. And then do no check dot pack side equals right. No check dot pack side equals capital R right. And then lastly, we need something that will display the state of these. So let's make a little function called report, and then when it is clicked, we can display a message box, or we can just print to the screen. Let's print to the screen, the easiest thing. So def report print yes equals end quote comma yes dot get parentheses in parentheses in parentheses, and do the same thing for no. Print parentheses no is equal to end quote comma no dot get open paren close paren close paren. Now if we had more time, I'd have y'all make the button yourself by going and looking back at the last little bit of code that we've done. 2 other times we've created buttons. Button is equal to capital B button parentheses top comma, what is the text of it? Text is equal to report end quote comma, and the command equals report with no parentheses. Well, you need a closing parentheses, but we're not invoking the function. And we have to pack that as well. Button dot pack, and let's put that at the bottom. Side is equal to capital B, all caps, bottom. And then we need our main loop. Alright, it's possible I typed all this in without syntax errors. Alright, what do you think? Yes or no? So I click report and it says, yeah, yes is equal to true, no is equal to false. But if I change those checkboxes, then the contents of my report will differ. If I can deselect them both, right?
Is there a way so you can have one check and the other one unchecked?
Make it so that as soon as we check
Yeah, like
one, the other one unchecks.
Yeah, so you don't check yes and no at the same time.
Yeah, I bet you could, and I'm not sure how you would do that. You would need to invoke some kind of function every time you call check button. What you are describing is something known as a radio button, and there's another class devoted to that, other than this. But I really would like for us to be able to do that. So checkbox call function Python. Can we just do, is it as easy as doing command equals and giving it a name? I'm going to try that. When I click no, I need to give it a command. Command equals no way, but I haven't defined my no function yet, right? So above here, I'm going to do define no way parentheses, and if they check no, then we're going to do yes.set parentheses false and no.set parentheses true. That's just for fun, but I wonder if it'll work. Yep, cool. So do the opposite, right? Make a command for your yes checkbox. Doing the same kind of thing. Make a yes way one and have your yes check call it. But first get it all working to begin with before you start making those changes.
Is there an on-click in Python?
This is serving as the on-click
Okay.
right there.
So
Yeah.
when you click it, it calls the no way function.
Yeah.
Right, I just didn't know if they had it like in one.
Right, in JavaScript you have the on-click method which ties together your HTML button with your JavaScript. So yeah, that's the same idea.
Perfect.
Scroll up like that or the other way?
The other way.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so I do want to make the yes way. That'll be the last thing I do today. DEF, yes way, parentheses in parentheses. Yes dot set to true. No dot set to false. And then in my yes check, I'm going to do comma, command equals yes way. Now it's kind of violating the spirit of a checkbox to have it updating a whole bunch of other things whenever you click it, but we don't care. We're playing, we're learning, and I like this suggestion, so thank you for asking about it. Neat. So when we put our text and we put our check boxes and we put our report button, we sent one button to the left. No, we never did. We never said what side it was supposed to go to.
Yeah, we did. Yes, check dot pack side equals left.
Oh, you did. You're right. Right there we did. So the button went to the left, the no went to the right. We sent that button down to the bottom,
But it actually went to the middle.
and it went more to the middle. We did not specify the text going to any particular way.
So, it just
So I'm going to try, just for fun, side is equal to underscore top, just to see if that makes it look a little bit different. Not much. If it was spaced out a little bit farther, then the report really does wind up being in the bottom rather than in the middle.
is middle something?
Is middle acceptable?
No. Center. Center is
Nope. Center? Alrighty.
Oh. No, never mind. Except it let me type, like, Python didn't give me an error, but when I ran it,
But when you ran it, it blew up. Okay.
Okay, so it must be top, bottom, left, or right is the error it gave me.
Bottom,
Oh, this.
top. You can stick multiple frames in the same window, and you can use that to break your user interface up. Like we could have made something that had, you know, like the name and the age and stuff like that, and stick that all in one frame, and then we could have had another frame that had all the buttons that were going to act upon that form. And so you can nest them that way, you know, set the first one up to the top and the second one to the bottom and that kind of thing. All right, I hope this is interesting. I wish we had more time to play with this. I don't even think that I have a homework assignment cooked up for this. Oh, I need to mention our projects.
Ooh, I've been working on that.
If you haven't cooked up a project idea yet and you're not pleased with the idea of that Pie Fighter one, there are two other ones. These are kind of classic programming problems.
Just looks
Oh, yeah, that's kind of that.
So, if you go up and you look in the assignments, you look at the top box, there are some other project ideas now. Hangman and Mastermind.
Oh, those are good ones.
So those are actually fun to write.
Those are a lot less complicated than what I'm doing.
So let's look at Hangman first. Everybody knows how to play Hangman. I just give you a sample user interface and I don't even tell you anything else about how to implement it. Right, let's play Hangman. I'm taking a word, it's 7 letters long, guess a letter. Be careful, you can only make 8 mistakes. They guessed A, and so 2 of them appeared. Guess a letter, B. Incorrect. You can only make 7 mistakes, but it shows what we filled in so far. C. Incorrect. You can make only 6 more mistakes. Now, we're not drawing a picture of a dude about to be hung, but if you feel like it, you could. G. All right, there was a G. N. Yep, there were a couple N's. Vanna turned the letters over. Everything was great. All right, guess a letter. D. Nope, we can only make 5 more mistakes. E. Nope, 4 mistakes. H. Hang. Okay, I figured it out. For some reason, I guess M. Correct, and I got it. You've won. Wish to play again. So Hangman's pretty simple, right? And of course, you could probably Google up some code that'll, you know, don't turn in stuff that you Google. I'll probably be able to tell that you didn't write it. It won't look anything like your other stuff.
Yeah.
And so then there's Mastermind. Maybe you played Mastermind as a kid. Looked like that. The idea was that one person would set up these colored pegs, and the other person would take a guess as to what they were. And so they would put some colored pegs down, and you would let them know which ones were right and which ones were wrong, or at least which ones were right. A black peg meant, yeah, you got one of these right. If you had 2 black pegs on it, it meant that 2 of them were in the right place. 3 black pegs meant that 3 of them were in the right place. So if we look, this guess here, 3 of them were in the right place, right? There's a black, there's a red, there's a yellow. Whatever that is, though, does not match that, green. Okay, so that's not correct. What are the white ones in? White is when you have the right color, but it's not in the right spot. Right, so here, there is in fact a red, and there is in fact a green, but they're in the wrong place. So we display 2 white, pegs instead. So my suggestion for the user interface is not colors, whatever. Instead, just using numbers. Here's what the computer could say. Hello, let's play Mastermind. I'm thinking of a secret code, 4 digits, where each digit is between 1 and 5. Want to make it harder? 1 to 9. 1 to 99. Okay, anyways. Remember, a digit is correct if the digit is in the correct place. A digit is misplaced if the digit is in the code but not in the correct place. Let's play. Take your guess. User types 1, 2, 3, 4. But the computer chose 5, 4, 3, 2 as its code. And so it says, nope, none correct, misplaced 3s. And that's true, right? Because I Googled. There was a correct one. I need to modify my example. You should say correct 1, misplaced 2, right? 5 is completely wrong. The 4 and the 2 are right, but they're in the wrong place, and then the 3 is correct. So I need to edit my document. And then so the person just guesses all ones. Nope, that's not right at all, because we're going for 5, 4, 3, 2. The user guesses 2, 2, 2, 2. Now that is correct. One of them is a 2, but the rest of the 2s are wrong. They're not misplaced, they're just flat out wrong. And you could argue about that, but the rules of the board game are that they're wrong. So we would tell them that they had 1 correct and none misplaced. But I did say see the note about this point. So the player knows at that point that absolutely one of them is a blue. And you could kind of brute force it, right? You could then guess all 3s and all 4s and all 5s and find out. But then you guess again. Okay, 3, 3, 2, 2. Are any of those correct? Yeah, because our guess was 5, 4, 3, 2. I have my misplaced and not misplaced correctly, completely. I should have written the program myself so that it would be absolutely correct. All right, and you finally get it right, and it says correct 4, misplaced 0, and you're good to go. Do you wish to play again? No. Okay, goodbye. How could you make the game harder? One, you can make the sequence longer, right? Not just 4 digits. Or you don't have to limit the digits just between 1 and 5. You can make a really killer game, and I'll get annoyed at you. No, I'm kidding. So those are 2 more ideas. I will update this one so that the results are actually correct. I hope you get the idea behind that one. There's a link, about how the game is played. You've probably seen it before. You can download a Mastermind, also called Codebreaker app, to your device of choice if you ever want to play it, against a computer or whatever. But this guy's explaining, how it works as it is played. Just how to play it. He didn't explain how to write it. This is a game playing video. All right, let's make a Dropbox. Be working on your projects, gang. Remember, you do a good job on the project and you like your quiz and exam scores, feel free to blow off the final. If you don't like any of those project ideas, come up with another one. I'll probably say yes. I want you to program something you're interested in, but aim for something that you actually have a chance of completing. I have made the mistake in my academic career of trying for projects that were, considerably beyond my ability to pull off, and that was kind of lame. Alrighty. It's always good to grab, reach high, but...
Yeah, that's what I'm doing with mine.
And I'll give you, props if you try something really hard, even if you don't bring it through to completion, right? As long as you show a lot of progress. Because I'd rather you try hard, right, than to pick something easy just so that you be sure that you succeed. H-I-J-K.
Okay.
That second one, where we did it as a class, is really bugging me. That it didn't work. Don't know why I'm making us wait until midnight to do it. Okay, but anyways. Alrighty. There's a Dropbox. Okay there. you can put your PY files in.